the reality is it's an awkward problem, because unless you're on a Ducati, it's not easy to make a decision on which bike is the most performing. You know, if Jonathan Rea was on his sofa watching Assen last time out, he would have been looking at the BMW and thinking, no, thank you very much. And yet in Portimao, Toprak was able to take it to 3 race wins. The one consistent bike pretty much everywhere is the Ducati.
Yeah, if you want to win, you want to be on a Ducati. If you want to be a manufacturer that can win, you have to hire Toprak, and that's what we've seen in the last couple of years. Yamaha learned that lesson. BMW certainly learned that lesson as well, and it's one of those really difficult times for riders, for their managers, and for teams to understand what difference things make, because it's also one of those things of, if we go out and spend all this money on a rider, will he make that difference, and will it be enough? And certainly for Yamaha, they spent big to get Jonathan Rea in last year, and it didn't help their fortunes.
It does negate some of the bite of the rider market, doesn't it, when the main interest is Toprak, and then who's going to be on competitive Ducatis, and when Ducati don't have any major reasons to make wholesale changes, what happens elsewhere? You know, if you're a manufacturer towards the back of the pack, it's very difficult to be really interested and motivated about what changes you might make, because there's no guarantee that it's going to instantly change your fortunes. We're watching Iker Lecuona. We were making his way through the final sector, crosses the line at 1 minute 29.932 for him, so just a shade down on his fastest time of this session. It's been a decent FP2 as far as Lecuona is concerned.
Yeah, and for Honda as well, Xavi Vierge is only a tenth of a second slower. He's down in 9th spot, so both Honda's pretty competitive there on the factory HRC bikes, and good to be able to see them doing that.
3 minutes remaining then in free practice 2. It's time for your final flurry of laps and a little bit of a sprint finish to this session. Nicolo Bulliger heading through towards the line here. Could set his fastest time of this session. It's not going to be quite the fastest of the day, but it's a 1:29.275. It's over 0.3 of a second faster than anyone has been in this session. Axel Bassani's still out there on the circuit. He's P2 at present, and Alvaro Bautista's going to put a lap in. Fingers crossed. 3 crashes today. That really is quite astonishing. But Bautista is going to get the last few minutes of this session.
Yeah, what's quite interesting for Alvaro as well, though, is he's done basically 20 laps so far in today's running, and he's 4th fastest in this session. So it shows that he's probably got a decent enough speed in the bike. Whether or not the feedback he's getting is what he needs, but at least there is something that's got some raw performance there. Yeah,
he'll have probably completed about half the number of laps of everyone else by the end of the session, although several of them have been in and out laps. So yeah, how much you can take from that remains to be seen over the course of the rest of this weekend. But as you've said, if you look purely at the timesheet, so it looks okay for Bautista, you know, P4 in FP2, P9 on the combined times, and the Ducati's going well with Bulliger, Sam Lowe's, Bautista and Petrucci all in those top 6 places. So yeah, there's every chance that he could still be on the podium, just like he's been in each of the 3 rounds so far. No reason to expect that that wouldn't be the case. In fact, he's up and running nicely on this lap as well. New personal best first sector for Alvaro Bautista.
Yeah, and we catch up with Bulliger as he comes across the line, and for Nicola Bulliger, again, a 29.2 last time around, 29.4 this time around. So he's got that speed, and we know that he's always pretty consistent as well when he gets down to it now this season. So for Bulliger, he's going to feel pretty good, even though he's done shorter runs than some of his other rivals. But that 10-lap run at the start of this session again showed his consistency.
Chance for Alvaro Bautista to set his fastest time of the day thus far, as there's just 1 minute remaining in free practice 2. Axel Bassani's on a hot lap. So too is Alex Lowe's, 1.5 tenths of a second up after the first sector on this lap. Sam Lowe's just crossing the line, 1 minute 30.5 for him. Bautista, the lap time's gone away from him somewhat in sector 3. I think he'll just be glad to have a couple of laps on the board at the end of this session, frankly. 1:29.811 is Bautista's fastest time. That's over half a second slower than teammate Nicolo Bulliger. Bautista crosses the line with a 1:29.943 on that latest effort. So we know roughly what the ballpark figure of Bautista's pace is at very least today.
Yeah, and we're able to see, at least for Alvaro, again, that high 29 for him, and he's put in some decent lap times over the course of this session. But it's Bassani had been on for a really good lap at the halfway point, and that's down at the last corner there. So that's the end of the session for Axel. It'll also be the end of the session for the riders trying to improve their times, including his teammate Alex Lowe's. He'd been coming through on course to move himself up into the top 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah, thankfully for Axel Bassani, it is the slowest corner on the circuit, about 60 kilometres an hour, and he's able to board the machine and make his way across the line to take the checkered flag. That is the end of free practice 2, and not the way that Bassani would have been hoping it would finish, but he is still P2 in FP2, and strong signs as far as he is concerned. Now that Bassani is up and running, of course, that yellow flag has gone from that final sector, so anyone who is on a hot lap will still be able to complete it. So that means the likes of Cremona, Toprak Razgatlioglu as well. Alex Lowe's just crossed the line, new personal best, 129.838 for him, so less than, half a tenth slower than the riders in front of him, a couple of tenths slower than Axel Bassani in P2. Bautista will get this one last lap in as well. He's 4 tenths down after 3 completed sectors, has been decent in the final sector and does make a new personal best, a 129.730 for Bautista. It's only good enough for P4 because Andrea Locatelli has just set a new personal best. That's for 7th on the combined times, 3rd in this session. And Toprak Razgatlioglu finishes with his best time of the day, a 129.465, and that gets the gap to Bulliger down to less than 0.2 of a second.
Sector 3 is where Bulliger's made that big step as well, a quarter of a second on Razgatlioglu, 0.4 of a second on Locatelli, and that's where he's making his lap time compared to everyone else. Sector 3 is the run down the back straight in towards the end of the lap.
And Bulliger finishes with a new fastest time of FP2, a 129.250. I was wondering there as he made his way through the 3rd sector whether he had a chance to take the fastest time of the day, but not quite. 10th of a second down on his personal best from FP1. Still, this weekend very much starting in Nicolo Bulliger's favour. It is P1 in FP1 and P1 in FP2 on Friday afternoon here in Cremona.